I've got 3 comics that I'm going to look through for my community, so let's just jump straight into it. So the first comic we've got is the Universe Protection Society by ZhoDog. So right off the bat, you can see straight away that the art style is really, really appealing, especially to a younger audience, and the writing skews that way too. So if that's your intention, you've absolutely nailed that. The biggest problem that I bumped into with this comic is the pacing. A lot of comics, especially on Webtoon, they can often take quite a while to develop, and the pacing can be quite slow. You have the exact opposite issue to that. This comic goes at like 100 miles an hour, and I found it quite difficult for me to get my teeth into a lot of the characters outside of Socks, who is our main character here. And I think what's happened is that you've created this fantastic world, and you have a really strong idea and a clear love for your characters. So you want them all to shine. And I can feel your excitement coming through the pages as the creator. And I think that's fantastic. That's really, really lovely to see. The problem is though that as the reader, I'm seeing all these characters for the first time, and it's hard for me to know which ones to pay attention to because there's so many and they arrive really rapidly. So what I'd suggest then for your next comic project, or if you want to carry on telling stories in this universe, is figure out the beats for your comic first, and then see which characters progress us from one beat to the next. You want to really scrutinize this, and so if a character doesn't progress us forwards, you either cut them from the main story or you reduce their role as like a background character with little to no lines of dialogue. Because right now, and I'm not going to go into this comic too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but right now the characters they're kind of getting in the way a little bit. It's like being in a room full of people all talking at the same time, and it's hard to focus on anything, which is a shame because I want to know more about the society and how Socks is going to cope in this new adventure. And I'm not going to spoil it beyond that because you have to read the comic, everyone watching. Now, the other thing that I'd really recommend focusing on is character development. So slowing the pace down and having more defined characters with like defined roles within the story will definitely help with this. But you should also consider how and why your characters make the choices that they make. Now, I am going to spoil this part, but this is the first episode and it's right at the start. I want to talk about this character here. Which, by the way, fantastic design. He's a really interesting character. But he starts off this story establishing that he doesn't like humans. He's kind of anti-human, right? And it's his mission to wipe out humanity. That's the reason he's here. It's explicitly stated that that's why he's here. But with it, one conversation, see, look, I will destroy Earth. With one conversation with Socks. So Socks, they're in a cafeteria and Socks sits with him at a table. And it's during this conversation, he not only completely changes his mind and decides not to blow up the Earth, but he leaves his machine to blow up the Earth in the cafeteria, which, by the way, made me chuckle. Like, that's the machine for blowing up the Earth. Quite funny, right? So this is a light-hearted comic. But even though this is like a light-hearted comic and it's kind of a fun adventure, you've still built up these huge stakes right at the start of the comic, and you've set my expectations up to basically just reverse it all. So I started reading this comic thinking, oh, this guy is here to destroy the Earth. Holy crap, what are the characters going to do? How are the characters going to react to that? And then, actually, no, he's not. So it's like you built all this sort of stuff up and be like, no, that doesn't really matter. And that kind of makes you think, okay, well, the next time you build up any sort of stakes, like if Socks is in trouble or whatever, does that matter? Like, and that's something that I think definitely need to reconsider how you are sort of setting up these stakes, because if you're not following them through, then the stakes don't really matter, and it makes it much more difficult for the audience to care about the characters and what's happening to them. Now, all of that being said, I found the comic extremely charming. The art style, as I've already said, is really appealing to the market that I think you're trying to attract. And I'd love to know more about this comic and these characters and the world that you created. So absolutely keep going, but just slow down a little bit. I mean, I want to sit with the main characters and know about them more, and I want to discover the world in which they live and the adventures that they go on. So everyone watching this, please give this a read and show ZhoDog some love, because they've got a great comic. It's up on Global Comics and the link is in the description. Right, on to the next comic. So this comic is called Scorched Earth and it's illustrated by Maya. Now, right off the bat, you can see that Maya is obviously a very good comic artist. Like, some great expressions here, really nice shapes, really nice color. I've got no notes about the art. I think the art is really, really nice. Now, I know that you're not the writer here, so I'm not going to comment on the writing for this comic, but I want to talk about some of the compositions. Specifically, I want to zero in on this page here. Let me just get it. Bloop. Here we go. So this is this page that I want to focus in on, where we've got the protagonist chasing down the car. Again, similar to ZhoDog, this kind of comes down to pacing to a degree, but also to there's elements of visual storytelling that I think could strengthen this page. So the first thing that I want to actually focus on is this row here of 3 panels. So our protagonist gets bumped by the car, they start bleeding from their leg, and then they throw something at the car. They're sort of the 3 actions that happen across these 3 panels. Now, I would suggest that they are quite big actions and important actions, but they're kind of crammed into these small panels. So I've done some thumbnails to make some sort of suggestions about how I would construct or reconstruct this page, and I'll go through my decision making and why I've made the changes that I've made. So these are the ones that I drew here. Now, the first panel is really, really easy. Keep it exactly the same. I think it's a great shot, really cinematic, no notes, wonderful. Now, for the next 2 panels, so for this panel and this panel, I actually added in a 3rd panel. And the reason why I added in the 3rd panel is because, well, in fact, there are 2 reasons why I did this actually. The first is that, so in this panel here, she discovers that the car that she's chasing doesn't have a driver. So it's driving all on its own. And I feel that that line, she says, basically, I'm talking to an empty car. That's what that says. Sorry, I know it's a bit pixelated, but it's, I'm talking to an empty car. I feel that if we saw her face while she was saying that second part, I think it would sell it a little bit more. Because right now, I don't know how she feels about that. Like, is she confused? Is she used to seeing this? Is this something she's never seen before? Like, I don't know any of those things because I can't see it on her face. And in fact, for the rest of the page, I don't see her face at all. So I don't know how she's reacting. I can guess how she's reacting, but I don't feel how she's reacting to the things that are happening. So that's why I figured, okay, well, let's add this panel in here where we can show that expression on her face that she's kind of confused by this. That's the first reason. The second reason is that in the following panel, she gets bumped by the car door. And so by showing that, you know, she's staring at the car here and she's looking a bit confused, she's dropped her guard. She's not really focused on what's going on because she's trying to process what she's just seen. So then the car can sort of hit her when she's got her guard down. So they're the 2 reasons that I added that panel in. For this panel, it's exactly the same. I just zoomed in, like that's all, because we do have quite a small space to work from. So I thought, okay, well, we've already established where she is. She's on the motorbike. We already established where the car is. So we don't need to necessarily show their relationship to each other because we know that they are alongside each other effectively. So we can then focus in on the action, which is the car door, swinging forward and hitting her in the leg. What we can also do, because this panel here, the point of this panel is to show that her leg is bleeding. So the impact had, you know, a pretty bad effect on her. But we can show that within that same panel because we've zoomed in, so we can show like the blood coming out and it's painful to her. Excuse me. But we can sell that again, going back to that selling of the emotion again, we can, instead of her saying that word there, I'm choking on my own advice, instead of just showing the words there, we can show the words here and show the expression on her face as well. So again, we're just selling that, you know, that hurt, you know, that had some impact on her. Now, this panel is the only panel on the page that confused me because I don't know what that is. Now, do I need to know? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But is that a Molotov cocktail? Is it a grenade? Is she shooting a fireball out of her hand? I don't know, because there's no context to help me out with what's happening. So that's why I added in this one her reaching into her pocket, because I know based on previous pictures of her that she has, in fact, we know from this one, she has a pocket right there. Let me zoom in actually, so you can see it. So she's got a pocket right there. And so in this panel here, she's reaching into that pocket to get something. And then in this panel, she's rearing back, ready to throw it. And then in the final panel, she's actually throwing the thing and the car is saying, ow. Now, if she is casting something from her hand and it's not actually an item that she's throwing, that's fine. But still, I'd still recommend you show that or establish that, she's powering up and then, launching it or whatever. Also, the benefit of this last panel here is that we've got a bit of shot variation as well, because for this panel, we've got like a side-on shot of the car, and then this panel, we've got another side-on shot of the car, whereas this one, we've got a front shot. So again, it's just adding a bit more variety as well to the panel. So it's got a couple of things going for it. Now, obviously, the last two panels of the original page, I would bump to the subsequent page. I don't know how much freedom you've got to make those sorts of changes. You might just be limited and have to draw exactly as the script says, in which case you're not going to be able to do any of the things that I've suggested. Not that I'm saying you should. You shouldn't be redrawing these things. They're just things to keep in mind for the future. But yeah, it's to sort of summarize this, I would say that it's not just about showing what is happening, like the actions that are happening within a particular scene. It's about showing the impact of those actions on the characters, because that way we can sort of sympathize with them a lot more if we can see their expressions and how they're reacting to the things that are going on around them, rather than just seeing this is happening and this is happening and this is happening. Like, what does it mean to the characters? Even if it is just them like swearing and be like, oh, fuck, that hurt or whatever, to show that on their face, it sort of sells that a little bit more. So that's sort of that. But I'm not done with this comic, because I want to show you guys a couple of panels, 2 panels actually, that I want to highlight. So, bleep. There we go. So first of all was this one. I wanted to highlight this panel because that is so good. That is so cool. Like this effect here, where you've got the sort of the fire stuff that's launching this character. That's so well done. I really, really love that. So I just wanted to give that some love because I think that's really, really good. The other panel that I wanted to give love to was this one. And the reason why is because what I really like about, I love the compositional choice in this panel, because there are so many comic creators out there who have the camera a little bit too close, because if they've got 2 characters in a panel, you need to see those characters up close. Like that's sort of the mentality. But you've gone the opposite way, which is the absolute perfect thing to do, because this panel can breathe. Like we've got the characters on the left, which is great because we're going to go from here to here as like reading left to right. And we start off with the web balloons, which is great. And then we can go to the car and up to the garage. So like everything about this panel, I really like it. And I think this is a great example of why you should zoom out and why you shouldn't be afraid to draw your characters really, really small, even if they are talking, and give the environment a bit of space to breathe. So wonderful. This is a really good comic. Again, the description to this is the link to this is in the description of this video. And I really recommend that you read it. Right, we have got the next victim comic. And the next comic is Zeki. So this is by Lili, and it's a one-shot comic with 14 episodes. And let's just go to the first page, and you'll see almost immediately that Lili is quite a good artist. Like the art style and the rendering and the drawings and everything are fantastic. I have zero critique on those whatsoever. I think you've got a really clean and nice style. It looks really professional and it looks really good. So it's not art. Like art, you've got no worries with art. It's fine. The main issue with this is shot variation and storytelling. There's a little bit of storytelling as well. I'm going to start off with shot variation though. So let me go back over to Clip Studio Paint. Bloop. There we go. We got this double page spread. Now, hopefully you can see straight away what I'm going to be talking about and what I'm sort of getting to. You've effectively got the same shot going back and forth across a total of 24 panels. I think these two combined are 18 panels, but you've got 6 panels on the page prior, which sort of starts off this bit of the scene. Now, I think, this is my little theory, I think because this is towards the end of the chapter, I think you ran out of steam when it came to the shot compositions. And so you sort of defaulted to, well, these characters are talking to each other, so I'm just going to show these characters talking, and that's kind of it, which is entirely understandable. But there are some things that I would recommend that you do to vary this up a little bit, because when you're just going back and forth all the time, it kind of stops becoming a comic. And because there's no real reason necessarily to see the pictures, like you're seeing the expressions, which is important. But once you see the same thing over and over again, it kind of blurs into just one thing, and your eyes kind of get a little bit bored of just seeing the same thing over and over again. So one of the things that I really recommend when you've got like quite a long dialogue scene, because it can be really difficult to come up with different visuals for that, because it is just two characters talking to each other, is to first of all thumbnail out, like let's say you're redoing this spread, which you're not going to do because this comic is already done and it's already great. But if you were to redo this again, thumbnail out that spread exactly as it is. Like just put all your ideas down, even if that is going back and forth and just talking between two characters and no other variation, that is fine. Then when you put your word balloons in, you're going to use the word balloons to guide what it is that you're going to show. So I've come up with a couple of alternatives very, very quickly. So for the first page, if I just reduce that. So in fact, for the first page in this panel here, Zeki says, makes sense. I remember that when he gave it to me, he smirked at me. So for this one, you could literally just draw in David giving him the shampoo, because that's what they're talking about, and smirking. And again, the word balloons can stay exactly where they are. You can just draw David smirking. So again, that sort of breaks it up a little bit, shows us something a bit different, and shows us what Zeki's thinking, right? Or what he's remembering. And then the second one, which was this one, and this was painful for me to do actually, and I'll explain why in a second. But this panel here, panel 8. So this is Mary saying that Zeki looks like some kind of cartoon hero. She really likes his hair. So, bleep, show the cartoon hero, you know, because I know that there's an in-universe cartoon that they both really like. So show us the hero from that cartoon. Because again, then we're showing what Mary is thinking as well as telling what she's saying. So we're showing and telling, I guess. Now, the reason this was painful is because, let me get rid of my drawing. Where have you gone? There you are. Because that is a fantastic expression. So I would just find a different panel to put that in, like maybe put it in there or something, because that's a wonderful panel. So that's for that spread. And again, like these are just little suggestions, right? Now for this one, we've got this first panel here where Zeki says, I just don't know if my parents will be mad, my dad mostly. So we can just do a picture of an imposing figure, maybe in silhouette, because that's easier to draw. And that's clearly meant to be his dad. So again, we're showing what he's thinking, what he's fearing, and all that sort of stuff. We're putting some visuals to the thoughts behind the words, you know? And again, we can look at this panel here, which is when Mary is talking about when she beat up her brothers to show her dad that she can take care of herself, because she's a bit of a badass. So we can just show her and her brothers being beaten up. Again, we're just showing what they're saying, showing what they're thinking, showing what they're feeling. And this is a really effective way and relatively easy way of just breaking up the shot variation so that the readers have a few more other things that they can look at and absorb and all that sort of stuff. So that's what I'd recommend. I mean, it doesn't it doesn't need to be, every single shot needs to be different. You can have the shots go back and forth, that's fine, because the audience is going to expect that when you've got two characters who are just talking. But if you can like just drop in a couple of alternative shots or alternative ideas and visual metaphors or whatever, it just helps break it up a little bit and sort of keep the pace going. The only other thing I'd say about the shots where they do go back and forth is, again, like what I showed with the Maya panel, don't be afraid to zoom out and have the characters be really small, so we can almost be reminded of their environment, reminded of where they are in relation to everyone else, and again, just to have that shot variation. Now, the next part that I think, the next part that I bumped into with Zeki is not visual at all, it's storytelling, so I can't really necessarily show anything, and I don't want to because it will be a massive spoiler. But the relationship between Zeki and his dad was established quite early on. Like, I got a pretty good idea about their relationship and what kind of guy the dad was and what kind of person the Zeki was. And I feel like that relationship in particular is over-explained a little bit, where there would be a scene where you would tell it either through action or through Zeki explaining to Mary what was going on between Zeki and his dad, where I was like, I felt I already had this information. I already knew this, so you don't need to go over this again and again. So that would be something where, like, if I was the editor of this comic, I'd say, okay, we'll cut that scene because we've already established the relationship between Zeki and his dad. But otherwise, like, this is such a good comic, man. Like, it's really, like I say, it's really professionally put together. It looks fantastic. It's a great story. I think that there's definitely an audience for this. I know it's a one-off, but it'll be interesting to see if you carry on within this sort of universe and these characters for like new, different adventures, because there's definitely a lot of story to tell with what's going on in this story. That's for sure. And everyone, click the link in the description to read this one as well. So I recommend all three of them because they're fantastic. Now, if you want your comic to be featured in one of these videos, then you're more than welcome to join the Discord. It is free. Patrons do get priority, but these critique things are available to anyone. You don't have to give me money for that, but you're welcome to. And you can join the Discord from my channel page on YouTube. And if you want to see more of these critique videos, I've made a playlist which will be on screen now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.